Welcome back to ECCMID TV, and with us now a guest all the way from America. We're now going to meet the Senior Vice President, the Head of Infection from Astrazeneca in the Global Medicines Division, Dr. H.Rex. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. How are you today?
I'm pretty good, thank you. We're meeting some fantastic people through ECCMID TV, and I'm delighted that you're a guest of ours this morning as well. What brought you to Congress, sir?
Well, this is the major Congress in Europe for antimicrobial discovery and development.
Excellent, and you're a specialist in that area of antimicrobial work.
Right.
What's happening in the field? What can you tell us about?
Well, I think that the thing that I focus on a lot these days is the increasing number of reports of resistant bacteria. And we've had just a whole stream of presentations at this meeting about surveillance systems that are increasingly showing us the extent of the threat. And there just are a lot of resistant bacteria that are progressively spreading and emerging.
How are governments around the world responding to this issue, John?
Well, the good news is there's become a lot of interest in it. It's taken a while. It's been over the last decade that we've been talking serially about needing to get a lot of government activity to address this. And I think the exciting thing is in the last couple of years, we're seeing just a great deal of new insight. In the United States, President Obama has initiated a national strategy for combating antimicrobial resistance. In the UK, Dame Sally Davies and the UK government have commissioned a review by a group led by Jim O'Neill, a well-known economist in this area. The WHO is developing a global action plan to deal with this. And all of these things they focus on the need to use better the drugs we've got, good infection control practices, and the need to discover and develop new drugs.
And your specific area that you're talking about here at Congress, what are you focusing on here?
Well, the thing that I and my team do personally and professionally is we're trying to develop new drugs.
And the outlook for the next 5 to 10 years, do you think new drugs will emerge?
I think that they will, and I think that we have, as a community, we've worked on sort of the big three problems. Drugs are hard to discover, hard to develop, and the economics are not very good. And the hard to discover, there's actually been some science support that's gone in. I'm starting to see new early science that could turn into a drug. The regulatory agencies around the world have responded to this by thinking with us about how to enable the development of drugs before the epidemic occurs, and it's a very important thing, that we be able to do the development when there still aren't very many cases. You'd like to have the drug before it spreads. And then finally, the economics of antibiotics have been a big issue. When we develop a new antibiotic, it's really very appropriate as a community to say, great, and that's special, and we should only use it a little bit. We should only use it when we really must. And so that's good stewardship, don't use it. But if as a developer, I may have spent several $100 million inventing it. And so I actually need somehow to get a return on that. So sales-based use use-based sales don't make a lot of sense. We actually have to have a different way of approaching it.
So a new model, if you will.
New models. And you need to think of antibiotics kind of like the way you do battleships. We as countries buy battleships. Why do we buy them? To use them? Well, we do sail them around, and we keep them clean and full of gas and with a staff. But our goal is actually not to use it. Yeah. Antibiotics are much the same way. Having them available means that you can say it's safe to get surgery. It's safe to have my cancer treated. Because if I had a problem, I had the antibiotic. When you don't have them, you might say, ooh, it's actually too dangerous to get my hip replaced. And that would be a real loss for society as a whole. So we need to think about buying them like insurance or like buying, the way we invest in defense. It's something we do in anticipation of problems and with preventing problems.
One of the topics that's raised its head here in the ECCMID TV studios during Congress has been resistance to antibiotics.
Yeah.
And it seems to be a bit of a hot potato that's leading its way through the Congress and many of the papers and discussions that are taking place. What are your views on it?
It's real, it's spreading, and bacterial resistance can explosively emerge. You can have food gets contaminated and tens of thousands of people can become infected. There are parts of the world where the resistant bacteria are in the water, unfortunately, and it's just visiting puts you at risk. So, and those organisms will not stay put. We travel around the world, and the bacteria travel with us. And so, visitors to one part of the world carry it to another part of the world. None of us are safe.
And particularly, if you look at this Congress alone, with visitors from 108 countries
Right.
around the globe,
You know,
it seems quite remarkable, really, the spread in human contact. Is nature changing quicker than we can cope?
Nature has always been able to change faster than we can cope. There are far more bacteria than us. And all they do every day is think about how to mutate as a community.
Will we ever win the battle? Battleships or not?
Depends on what you mean by win. Can we stay ahead? Yes. I think we can.
What does it take to do that, sir?
It takes a steady stream of innovative antibiotics. We need just at regular intervals to invent new antibiotics that are different from the ones we've invented before. And we need to be investing in the right kind of science to cause that to occur and training scientists to do that.
Large pharma, is it doing that at this point in time, or do we look to small, medium emergents?
We really, in essentially all areas actually, we look to smaller companies to be the real innovators just because there are more of them. Large pharma can do some work, but actually what you need is a lot of diverse scientific support.
Because with your analogy, you might have battleships at one level, but perhaps the speedboat may be a little bit more portable and maneuverable.
Well, it's just you want creativity. You want people to take, you want academic groups who take some really unusual high-risk idea and take a shot at it.
I understand with the pipeline concept here at ECCMID 2015 as well, a lot of new specific SME business bringing ideas to marketplace was a very, very important part of this overall Congress.
It is. And
have you been hovering around on the outskirts, having a look in there?
Well, we try to talk to those companies, and we're very interested in supporting them, and a lot of the stuff that I do involves creating public support for small, medium enterprises to be active in the area.
Excellent, and that's music to a lot of their ears, I'm sure. Tell me about Congress itself for you. Are you enjoying yourself at this Congress?
I always enjoy this meeting. You see a lot of your friends here. These meetings are about hearing new science and catching up with scientists.
Do you remember being a first-time delegate at ECCMID all those years ago?
Yes. I mean, these meetings are overwhelming, and you need to find somebody who's been here before and attach yourself to them, follow them around, and get introduced.
Is that your best advice? Find someone who knows what they're doing.
Particularly if you're a young fellow, young student in the area. Find your senior professor and just hang on. Stand right next to him and say, hello, my name is.
You will survive. You will get through this. I know it's a bit overwhelming.
That's right. You need to come 2 or 3 times before you know what's going on, but you got to start.
I love it. And it certainly is the melting pot, this multicultural.
It is.
I mean, this has become almost one of the flagship events of the year in your industry, sir.
Oh, it is. I mean, this in Europe is the meeting. There's one in the United States, but this is, a big, important meeting with lots of science.
Now, for a man in your position, when you leave Copenhagen in the next couple of days and walk out of the Congress Hall for the last time, heading in the direction of the airport, what will have put a smile on your face? What will have been the most important thing that you will have achieved or seen or have happened, in your own opinion?
Well, for me, it's never a piece of data. It's always about the people and the opportunity to, chew the fat with folks about stuff, because here everybody's together. And so I see friends, I catch up with stuff, and I hear about latest trends.
And that really is the true spirit of ECCMID as well.
It is.
John, it's been a real pleasure having you on the show.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
A real pleasure to see you.
Thank you.